Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Black in the Saddle. I am so glad you're here, and I'm especially glad for today's guest because she's just one of those people who says the quiet part out loud and keeps it real in the ways that many of us just think about. She really makes you feel seen in this sport, in horse sports, and y'all know that it can feel lonely if you don't have the right people around you. I actually met today's guest in person before we got to this conversation, which is a first for me. We connected at the Black Equestrian Summer Bash hosted by the Stand Foundation at City Ranch in Maryland. And from the moment we started talking, I knew I had to have her on the show. Sydney Steverson is a adult amateur eventer based out of the Midwest, although she has recently made some major moves to chase this dream of hers to the East Coast, specifically Virginia. She's training and competing with her horse, Superman. She holds degrees in statistics and religious studies. Yeah, both of those. And was diagnosed with autism at 18, which she says actually explains a lot about why she chose horses. Sydney is also a growing presence on social media, particularly TikTok, where she documents her eventing journey with humor and honesty. That has built her a genuinely devoted following. This conversation goes a bit deep. We talk about what it means to be a late starter in a sport where a lot of people assume that you had to grow up in it, and navigating the trainer search as a Black woman in a predominantly white discipline. Her vulnerability of falling in public and letting her community see it. She is hilarious, y'all, but she's real, and she is out here paving a way that she is dedicated and committed to in horse sports. Please welcome Sydney Steverson to Black in the Saddle. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Black in the Saddle. I am just thrilled and tickled because I am looking at Sydney, and I look at her all the time, okay?
Okay.
I watch her content all the time. And so as I am in just this conversation with you right now, I am thinking back to just the fact that you are a very hilarious person.
Oh, thank you.
But you are very real, and you say the things that many of us are either just saying
Right.
in the back of the bus, or the things that we are thinking. You say them out loud, and I just appreciate that so much
Thank
about you.
you.
So
Thank you.
welcome to Black in the Saddle, Sydney.
I'm very excited to be here. This is really cool.
Well, good. So we first met at the Black Equestrian Summer Bash. And
Yeah.
usually it happens the other way around. Like,
Right.
have people on the podcast and then I meet them in person.
Right.
But this was opposite, and it's great.
Yeah, it worked out. No, I mean, I have been following you on Facebook and on your social media for a while. Uh,
Really?
yeah.
I had no idea. That's so
N-
well, I didn't even know we were Facebook friends, honestly,
Yeah, no, we are.
until you responded. And I was like, wait, is that it is?
Yeah.
And one of my coworkers were like, I think I saw someone I follow comment on your post. Do you know her? And I'm like, I'm about to know her.
Right. No, I followed you for a while because you've been doing like between the cowgirl Cameron and stuff, like you've been posting a lot of stuff. So I try to give a like, a follow, you know.
You. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Well, this is not about me, though. This is not
Yeah.
about me. We are here to talk about your experience in the horse industry and just to offer the Black in the Saddle family some insight, some
Mhm.
encouragement, some direction. Your story is so important, and you are joining almost 100 other guests on this show in telling your story, and I really appreciate you coming on today. So
Yeah.
let's start with how Sydney got into horses. I feel like that's the easiest question we can start with.
It is. It was a summer camp in Barrington, Illinois, like a horse riding camp that my mom signed me up for, I think because I had expressed some sort of interest in horses, as I think a lot of young girls do. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if it's
Mm-hmm.
not horses, it's wolves. And mine was mine was horses. Um, and I mean, from the second I like stepped in that barn and like smelled the barn smell and like the horses, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is gonna be a problem. Um, and I was like obsessed. I couldn't stop talking about horses. I'd like Briar horse, I mean, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
And then I eventually started taking lessons at a hunter barn
Mm-hmm.
for a couple years. And then we moved to Pennsylvania and tried to do some lessons out there. But eventually my parents were like, nah.
Yeah.
Like
It's
I
just,
mean, their life just got kind of crazy and stuff, you know.
mm-hmm.
I'm a child of divorce. Um, and between that, they were like, we just can't juggle all this. And so I like put it to the side until like, I mean, the millisecond I graduated college, the millisecond I got an off the track thoroughbred. Like I like ran from my graduation to the barn and was like, give me that one.
I love that so much. As someone who purchased a 6-month-old horse as a
Mm-hmm.
sophomore in college, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. So let's go back to right before that moment. When you went
Right.
to college, where did you go to? What did you get?
I have two degrees. I have a degree in statistics and a degree in religious studies.
Girl, what?
Give me that look.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Because I always said like I have trouble understanding people. I was diagnosed with
mm,
autism when I was 18.
mhm.
And I have trouble understanding people. So statistics helps me understand people through math, and religious studies helps me understand people through spirituality. So it was like I was kind of covering my bases there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I can understand that. I get where you're
Yeah.
coming from. And so you go from, wanting to understand people to
Hmm.
then saying, I'm going to invest my time and energy into
Yeah.
this horse.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, it was, I had really done college and all that because growing up, that's the thing you're supposed to do, right? You go to college, you get your degrees, and especially as like Black women, like our parents are like, get to college, get to college and get a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like I did that, and I still was like, I just felt like there was just that nagging itch in the back of my head. It was like, I miss these animals so much. I miss that so much. And like, I was supposed to have a year of downtime between graduating and getting a master's, and I was like, I'll spend that time taking lessons, having fun, and stuff like that. And then once the bug rebit me, I was like, well, we're not escaping again. Like I got out of that quicksand one time because my parents forced me. I can't do it on my own.
Yeah.
So it was really something that I like truly did for myself
Mm-hmm.
and because I wanted to do it and not because the expectation of my parents or the expectation of society. It was like I got this horse because I wanted to do it because I knew it would make me happy, and I knew it was something that, I mean, as cheesy as like something deep down inside, like I'm meant to do this, like I'm meant to be around these animals, and that's like the time when I most feel at peace and the most I'm like comfortable with myself is around them. And so
Yeah.
that was that moment.
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, I'm curious to know your perspective because I have been seeing a lot, and this might just be algorithmic, okay, but I'm not complaining. I have been seeing a lot of Black women
Mm-hmm.
getting into horses.
Yes, it's this sort of it's happening a lot in my algorithm too, and I'm sure again it is targeted. But as a lot of I've noticed a lot of these successful Black women as they get sort of a disposable income, they're
Mhm.
going back to this sort of, and I like to think of it as like a whimsical, not
Mhm.
in like a bad, but like a whimsical fun thing that they can do to
Yeah.
sort of creatively and physically express themselves. And to me, that's something that's really, really cool. And obviously very important. Whether or not they end up, showing or, going to the, who
Right.
cares? But
Right.
just them going and like seeing how much fun, because that's the thing that I always tell people about horses is like, you have no idea what these animals are capable of for you
Mhm.
until you're around one.
Mm-hmm.
Like it sounds, and that's the thing, if you've never been around a horse, it sounds crazy. Like it sounds insane when you're like, these animals are miraculous, they're incredible, and people are like, it's a horse, and I'm like, wait. And I'm like, chill, listen, you have no idea. These creatures are out of this, like, I don't know what it is, you know.
Yeah.
I've spent years on my TikTok trying to figure out like what it is about these giant creatures that like is so healing for the soul, as frustrating as they often are,
Mm-hmm.
and so it really makes me so happy to see a lot of Black women getting into it and discovering that and like getting bit by the bug. And I'm like, that is to me only a good thing for the industry.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because the way that it is I mean, people are leaving
Mm-hmm.
this industry left and right just because either being priced out of it,
Yeah.
opportunities aren't there. I mean, I commend all of the people who are showing their horses,
Yeah.
and there's no money at the end.
Right. No, I
That's
mean
like,
that's
y'all are different kinds of soldiers. I don't quite get
no, I
it.
know it's when you write it down on paper, it's dumb. But it's dumb. You should just everyone should be doing barrels and where you get money.
You know, it already exists. We don't have to make something brand new.
I know, and it's just like the concept of, I mean, even show jumpers make money, but eventers, what I do, you slog through the mud and go through three of the hardest phases you've done in your life, and at the end, they're like, well, maybe you get a ribbon. Most of the time, you just go home crying. So, congrats.
Oh my gosh. But there's a different I feel like every discipline has its personality, right? And
Yes.
that's one of the things I love about your content is that you bring that to the forefront. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like the eventer's personality is very similar to how I grew up trail riding.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't our trail rides weren't leisurely.
Right.
They were, if you will be left by yourself in the woods if you're not hauling ass.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and I have been in situations with my horse where instead of going down the creek and up the other side, he's like, "Well, we could go from side to side.
Yeah. Just jump it.
We'll just jump it." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're a walking horse.
Yeah.
We're, we don't have to do this, you
Right.
know?" And so tell me about what that personality is like for eventers.
Eventers are like the epitome of get it done. And they are very, in a lot of ways, I think the best parts of old school riding of this, like, me and this horse are going to figure this problem out together,
Mhm.
and I think that's similar to trail rides, right? You're out there and it's like, especially, I mean, trail rides, hopefully you have people around you, unless they just leave you. But out on a cross country course, you're by yourself.
Right.
There's the jump judges off in the distance, but like you're by yourself. And it's up to you and the horse in the moment to sort of figure out how you're going to get through the situation. You've walked the course, the horse hasn't seen the course. And so they're relying on you, you're relying on them.
Mhm.
Let me close this door because my dog be barking.
That's funny. My dog just came running up here like, who is that?
Who's yelling? um but yeah, it's this feeling of like you and this horse have to figure this out together, and it's a very unique relationship that I don't think any other sort of, except for sometimes humans and dogs, but even that's differently because you're riding this animal, like you are dependent on them to get you across this obstacle. You can't get across it on your own,
Yeah.
and that is something that is very unique to horses. And that's the best feeling when you're on cross country and you come up to a problem and you're like, how are we going to figure this out? Or it doesn't go the way that you walked it or that you thought it would be. And
Mhm.
your horse does something surprising. Like that to me is like, that's the heart of every eventer, is like those unexpected moments. And honestly, the moments where it doesn't go quite right. I'm not saying it goes badly. We never want it to go badly, but the moments where it doesn't go quite right, but you and your horse like figure it out, you
Yeah.
know, and that's really, really cool, especially like compared to, dressage that's like constant practice until it's perfect, and hunters that are constant practice till it's perfect. It's that grit, that little
Mm-hmm.
bit of like,
Mm-hmm.
not to say that hunters and dressage people aren't tough, they are, but
Right.
there's like a certain grit of like, okay, it didn't go fine, but brush off, keep going. Like it didn't go the way you thought it was, but that's okay, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, I feel like it's not something like you said, yes, you do walk the course when,
Mm-hmm.
before, but you can only plan for so much.
I go into a cross country course and I've got like 7 plans for how I think things are going to go, and it never happens. Never happens. Of like, okay, well, if we get close on this jump, then we're going to have to kick on, or maybe we compress the stride, or we'll do that and we'll do this. And oh, my horse actually, like, he bulged a shoulder to the right, on a bending line, and now we're coming up on a half stride. What are we going to do? Like all those things that you have to think in the moment really quickly, and just having the horse, and that's what makes a good cross country horse that will, be like, I'll figure it out too. Like that's a little bit what makes good eventers kind of hard to train, because you want them to be independent. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they can't be fully relying on everything you say, because you're going to mess up out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's
and so
so
some of the best, eventing horses are kind of jerks. Like Superman, my main guy right now, is kind of a jerk. Like he full on ignores me a lot of the time. When we're out there, I'll be like, do this. And he's like, that's dumb. I'm going to do this. And 99% of the time he's right. So
yeah.
I can't get mad at him, but that is the tricky part. And, that's what's different from something like, a dressage, you want that horse listening to you,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
versus you need a good eventing horse will ignore you sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so interested though. Like how do you train knowing that to be true? Like how do you prepare yourself and how do you prepare the horse when you know
um,
that they're gonna do what they
a
want?
lot of it, is schooling, and I'm fortunate enough at the barn that I'm at now that we have access to Sharon White, who's one of the top riders, one of the top eventers, her cross country course, right? So we can go over there, pay for some schooling, and you just basically put them in situations, right? You can't plan for everything, but you put them through, okay, you have a bending line in 5. Okay, this is a coffin that's a 2 to a 3. It's a 1 to a 2. It's a drop into the water, jump in the middle, jump out. Like you put them in these kind of sketches of situations, right, that you will expect to find at whatever level you're training for. Even, and a lot of times you don't do it at the height, right, because you don't want to put that wear and tear on them,
Right.
but you're sort of putting like, this is kind of a situation we'll find ourselves in. And Lucinda Green's one of the best at that. If you ever take a clinic with her, of like, she will give these crazy lines and these hard things that you probably will never come across this hard, but by figuring it out with your horse, you sort of unlock this level of trust in one another.
Yeah, yeah. Talk to me a little bit about what that partnership looks like, and I would love to hear about you and Superman because I found that my flavor of
Mm-hmm.
horse people
Yeah.
are the people who see the horses as their partners.
Yeah.
So tell me what that's like for you and Superman.
Yeah. Especially in eventing, like that horse has got to be as much of a teammate as you are. It is like a truly, truly a team of, and of figuring out a situation together. And it is, they're living creatures, right? They have good days, they have bad days. I infamously a couple weeks ago fell off, had a bad weekend through no fault of Superman. Turned out his coffins were bugging him, and that's why. But it's like stuff like that, of being able to pick up of like, he's not quite jumping the way he has been. Is something bugging him physically? Like that sort of being so tuned into each other. And Superman knows when I'm having a bad day,
Mhm.
you know? And I can walk into a stall, look at his face, and I know what kind of day he's having. And
Mhm.
it's something, it's hard to describe. It's something like, if you've ever seen the movie Pacific Rim, they two pilots pilot a mech, and they have to be what's called drift compatible, which means their brains can work really well together. And I say the best eventing horses are like, you and your horse are drift compatible. Like
Mhm.
you are thinking something and your horse is doing it before you're even really consciously asking them to do it. or
Mm-hmm.
your horse starts to do something and you're like, oh, I'm picking up on what you're putting down. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like, I'll go with you on this one. There was a jump out on our last course. It was supposed to be a 4 stride, and Superman started to do it like he was going to do it in a 5. And I'm like, no, no, that makes sense. That's fine. That's fine. We could do that. And it is this feeling of like you and the horse, again, sounds crazy, become like one mind where
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking together. And that's why it's so important for like your nerves to try to be under control, because it's going to directly impact them and all that stuff. So that's the best way I can describe the partnership, is like a mind meld between
Yeah.
you and a horse.
Yeah. I just came off of another podcast where I was in my like coaching brain.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that just in this conversation the word that keeps coming up for me is ego death.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yes.
you have got to be willing to listen while
Mm-hmm.
also having to provide direction, but listen to what is being offered to you as well.
Exactly. Yeah, it is a really, really fine line, especially as the jumps get higher and the courses get harder, of like, do I override his decision here for my decision, or do I listen to him? And it changes from jump to jump, and it changes from, course to course and day to day of who's calling the shots. Um, and at the end of the day, it's really nobody. It's both of us and neither of us. It's just sort of what happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I completely get it. So now so at some point you said, okay, I am going to ride horses. Is Superman the thoroughbred that you got when you
No,
okay, okay. I didn't think so. I thought
no.
like he was a little bit younger than that. But so how do you go from, this first horse to Superman?
So that first horse, his name is Tamada. He's still around. I sold him to a beginner
Mhm.
about a year ago.
Mhm.
Um, and he was like truly like, that horse taught me so much in terms of like how to retrain a horse, how to get a horse off the track, how to get their brain, how to get around a cross country course, all of those things. Like he was such a perfect student for that. Um, and eventing had always been what I wanted to do since I'd watched the Sydney Olympics with my mom in 2000. I was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. This is all I ever want to do.
Hmm.
So I had him. I got another thoroughbred from the same breeder who was infinitely more challenging. I still have him. He's retired in the field. But um and then I had gotten my mare, Ahsoka, about 3 years ago
Hmm.
as like my upper level, hopefully, prospect. But she was really tricky and it was hard to gain confidence on her. Um, and so I needed something that would give me confidence. And so that's how, about almost 2 years ago, I
Mhm.
got Superman. And with the express purpose of like, he had gone preliminary for 7 years before I got him. So he had been there, done that. Like he knew everything that was going on. There's not really anything you can throw at him on a course that phases him.
Mhm.
Um, and sort of getting the feel of what that kind of ride feels like, is really what Superman's whole kind of purpose has been, in addition to being an immensely talented horse.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the progression, and there has been many trials and tribulations and trainers and barn changes, as we all know. um
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna ask you about that. What are some of the, because I know that you know, in the intake form you talked about being picky about trainers and
yeah.
not letting people tell you what you can and cannot do. Tell me
Yes.
about some of the challenges that you have experienced in your career.
Well, the big thing, I mean, I came into it late, right? Especially like competing very late. I didn't compete as a kid. I just really did lessons.
Mhm.
And for a sport that has such longevity, I mean, the top pros right now are, no offense, everybody, old. And they're old. Like, especially in eventing. You have Philip Dunn, that man is 65.
Mhm.
Okay, like the career on this has legs, right? But even still going in, I was in my mid-20s. People were like, I don't know if you can do all these things that you want to do because you're too old. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I have 40 years. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's still this idea of like, we got to get them when they're young, when they're kids. And yeah, I get it. Kids learn faster, blah, blah, blah. But, that's been the big thing of me being like, hey, I want to be a 5-star eventer. I do want to, make it to the top and be a professional and have people be like, can you? And I think for a lot of people, that would break you. But as being a Black woman, people tell you all the time you can't do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to learn to ignore them, or else we all would just be sitting in our house waiting for death. Like society as a whole tells us every day you can't do this. So when a bunch of people at a barn are like, you can't do this, I'm like, yeah, I've heard it before.
Yeah.
So I don't really care. But it is, I think, so important to find someone in the sea of everyone being like, you can't do this, that will be like, no, I think you can.
Mm-hmm.
And it has taken me until this April when I finally found my trainer, that I'm with now, and have moved over to Virginia and Florida, uh, that I feel like I'm in the place where people are like, okay, you can do this, you
Yeah.
know. And that, unfortunately, it's a trial and error sort of thing. It's until you find the person that you really sort of match with. That's just kind of how it goes. And I think there's probably an extra layer of challenge, being Black, but I do think this is sort of a universal problem that people
Yeah.
face. So.
Yeah. The Kinship Conference is coming. Black in the Saddle is partnering with the Urban Culture Association of Black Cowboys and Cowgirls to bring to you this 2-day experience. This conference is designed especially for Black horse folks. I'm talking about Black cowboys and cowgirls, Black equestrians, or anyone who really just loves learning about this culture. We have over 28 speakers coming to deliver sessions and workshops on a range of different topics. We're going to have live music. We're going to have industry roundtables and panels. You need to be in the room. If you feel like you want more from your work in the horse industry, or you have been feeling alone in what you do, this is the event for you. Tickets are on sale at blkinthesaddle.com/kinship, or you can find the link in the show notes. Well, tell me about you taking that leap, though, because you have moved away from your home to chase this dream. So that comes with its own challenges.
Yeah, I think growing up, we moved around a lot, for my dad's job. He's a lawyer. He was a lawyer for Motorola, and so he moved around to go to their different offices to move up the levels. And so that sort of is a mindset that's ingrained in my head of like, whatever it takes. If you got to move, if you got to do this, if you got to leave your family behind to get to the next echelon, then that's just something. It sucks, but it's something you got to do. And so luckily my husband is, I mean, incredible and infinitely understanding, and is like, go for it. He's like, I'll hold down the fort here until I can get out there. And, like, so that's something that I'm extremely lucky that I'm able to sort of take this leap and have people in my corner that, outside of the horses, in terms of family, that are supporting me, because that to me is the most important part. It's not just, it's a 50-50, right? You need your support at the barn, but you also need your support outside of the barn to be able to keep going. And that has been the biggest part for me, honestly, has been my husband's support and my family's support. Is the only reason I've been able to take these leaps. But that was just, I mean, that was the mindset of like, okay, well, East Coast for eventing is like, that's kind of where it's at. And if you want to do this, then you got to do this. And it lined up that I was helping Sarah with some dressage stuff, and it just happened to work out. I had a friend advocate for me to join her program, and the stars sort of aligned and came together. And when something like that lines up, you're like, okay, like,
Here we go.
Here we go. If not now, when?
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. So you took this leap, and you moved Superman out there.
Yeah, I moved Superman and my mare
Okay.
out to Virginia. So I have the two out there. I retired my thoroughbred, out at a friend's barn in Florida, because a big part of this too is knowing when your horse says they're done.
Yeah.
And he was like, this isn't, I'm not having a good time. And I was like, amen, brother.
Yeah.
So I have the two up in Virginia, and I think mid-November or so we're going back down to Florida for the winter.
Okay. Okay.
So
Awesome. when you came to the Black Equestrian Summer Bash,
Mhm.
hosted by the Stand Foundation at City Ranch.
Yes.
I don't know that I talked about that on the podcast just yet. So I was like, let me just make sure I say that. Anyway, we talked about making this industry more accessible,
Hmm.
and more diverse and more, I don't even know if mainstream is the word, but
Right. Yeah. I think that's a good word.
getting people out there, getting it out
Hmm.
there. Tell me a little bit about what you see and what challenges are exist in that.
So obviously the big challenge is that this is a very niche sport, right? This is a very, specific thing that's kind of difficult to understand. Or at least this is what I used to thought until I saw how much Formula One took off. After the Drive to Survive Netflix show, Formula One took off, and I was like, well, it doesn't get any more niche than people in $1 million, extremely expensive cars that none of us are ever going to get to drive, that none of us could drive, right? With very specific, weird rules. I still don't know all the rules, right? But there are people tuning in every day that are forming fan clubs. And I was like, oh, okay, so like it can be done with anything, right? So I'm like looking at Formula One as sort of like the blueprint of what horse sports need because we're in exactly the same situation. It's a
Mhm.
very specific thing that not a lot of people are going to be able to participate in or afford, just based on where they live or how much money they make, but they can still enjoy it because it's fun to watch. And I do think watching horses out on cross country and watching horses show jump and watching a good dressage round and watching a good barrel round is really fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's cool to see. You can, even as a spectator, sort of see the mind meld happening. You can see the partnership happening, and that's really cool. It's why we like animal stories so much. It's why we like, I mean, you have this added bonus. I mean, we're in the Olympics. You have this added bonus of there's horses at the Olympics.
Yeah.
That's fun. Isn't that fun? Like, it's
Already
just
investing in it.
right. They're big, they're big creatures. So to me, that's that the sort of marketing of looking at F1 and how do we make it
Mhm.
fun for people to watch? How do we make it so that people it's easy for them to watch?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of ways, there's a lot of streaming services, and the horse places have streaming services, but they're sort of prohibitively expensive to get into, and it's a different one for each event. I'm like, okay, if we unify it,
Yeah.
right, and we make it one thing that's fairly cheap for people to pay in and they can watch it. And I know sometimes ESPN shows, they'll show Land Rover, sometimes they'll show the Olympics, you know stuff like that, of just exposing people to it. It's not very hard to film a show jump, to set up one camera for a show jump round,
Yeah. Yeah.
and broadcast that out to people. It's not very difficult
Yeah.
in terms of sports broadcasting.
Mhm.
And to me, that's where, like, you gotta, where I got in is the Sydney 2000 Olympics, watching these people go around. You show kids, you know and kids will get into it, especially because it's animals and it's fun and it's running around and it's stuff like that. To me, it's not, I don't think it's very difficult or especially cost prohibitive to make the sport more a commercial success. And I do think a big part of that is also investing in making riders, the way like basketball stars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I was just thinking that because I feel like what came out of F1 was like we got to know the drivers.
Yes. Yeah.
Got to
You have your
got to know them.
yeah, you have your favorites. Are you a Max Verstappen fan or not? Even on the unsuccessful teams, no offense, Ferrari, even on the not unsuccessful teams, people still love those riders and follow them and root for them for every little point that they get,
Mhm.
even though there's no chance of them winning, but
Yeah.
people are still rooting for them. And I think the same translates in the horse sports. You got the five people that are winning every time,
Mhm.
but you can still be invested in the people going out there every day, especially since the one of the teammates is a horse.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, which carries its own appeal and personality and draw and story.
Yeah, I think one of the smartest, and you can see it a little bit. I mean, I think Boyd Martin, they really market that dude a lot. And I think whoever his team behind him is sort of who we need to be looking at, right? And they've done some really smart things with his social media and his sort of personality, and they've done really smart things with his horse that he but got after the rider tragically died, and so there's been this whole story of like him taking that horse to the Olympics, right? Because his owner wasn't able to, and her family's there watching and stuff like that. Like that was a huge draw for people, right? And I don't think it needs to be that tragic of a story every time. I hope not.
Right, right.
But that's the kind of thing, like people were invested because it's a great story.
Yeah.
And that's what sports is. Sports is story. Sports is, at the end of the day, entertainment. I know, basketball players like to act like they're going to war. You're playing a child's game,
Uh-huh.
for entertainment. That's an extremely important thing, though, especially in society,
Mhm.
for people to have that method of storytelling.
Yeah.
And I think that's just something that horse sports could quite easily do, given the drama of, especially how dramatic horses are with, wanting to get an abscess right before a big competition. That's pure drama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are you going to do? Oh, the top horse, can't compete. Oh, what are we going to do? We're going to rally. Stuff like it's very.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree with you there. And I think that is a perfect segue
Oh,
into
right.
how you have made horses and horse sports and eventing in general just so relatable, and just you've created a way for us to laugh at our own ridiculousness
Right.
um,
Thank you.
through social media. So tell me, like, when did that start for you, and kind of what put the impetus on that for you?
I think, I was driving a lot. It used to be an hour back and like an
Mhm.
hour to the barn, an hour back. So I had a lot of time in my car to think. And I had just downloaded TikTok and I was like, I'd seen this guy doing a lot of funny dog sketches about like, what if dogs were people, blah, blah. And I was like, well, no one's really doing that for horses because that's a weird thing to do. And so I was like, I'll do it. And I was surprised with how much it resonated with people and how people outside of horses think it's funny and think it's interesting, again, because people don't know a lot about horses and it's not something you come across every day. So it is like a series of fun facts. You feel like you're learning something, and it is this insight into this whole different world. And that's kind of what I've, as much as it's been two parts, providing insight for people that don't know anything about the sport, of like, this is what we're doing over here and it's crazy.
Mhm.
um it's crazy, it's really fun, there's this whole aspect of life, and it's also sort of for the people that are into it and the people that understand, a kind of like a love letter to them, or a like, I get it, we get a place where we all can like get together and be like, it is kind of crazy what we do. It
Yeah,
is nuts that we just like, these things used to be cars and now we turn them into, now we make them dance.
yeah.
um
I bought
it
mine a whole car.
Right, exactly. Mine's car, their trailer costs more than my car, you know so it is nuts, and when you zoom out and look at it, you're like, objectively, this is very funny.
Mhm.
And I think looking at it from that lens and looking at it like, this is funny, I think keeps people, I hope, a little more whimsical about it, a little more into the fun of it, and not so bogged down in the muck and gunk of every day. And I hope too it helps people relate to their horses more and be, a little bit kinder to them, because it is a ridiculous thing
Mhm.
that we're doing.
Yeah.
So that is basically, that's sort of where it came from. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it to be so successful, but it was. Then I was like, well, I guess this is what I do now.
Yeah.
um,
I love that. And you talked about support earlier,
mhm.
support from your family, support in and out of the barn. Do you find that you have developed like this tertiary support system on social media?
Yeah, oh my god, like unbelievable. When I had posted a video when I fell at my last show, being like, hey guys, like I fell, and I feel this sort of pressure because I have all these, fans and people, people knew about the show, they came out, they made signs, and I fell directly on my elbow and skinned it really bad, and it hurt so bad. But but I was like, I made this video being like, hey guys, like I'm sorry, that I feel like I let you guys down. And like the outpouring, I don't think I got a single negative comment. The
Mhm.
outpouring of people being like, we support you, we're here for you, we just are happy you and Superman are safe, like having that has been so incredible. And, that's what pulled me out of this really. It was a dark spot. Like I felt like it's, my second modified. I haven't gotten around to modified yet. And I was feeling like a complete failure. People are like, no, you're not. Like, this is just, this is how it goes. I've had the same thing. People sending me stories of like, oh, I had a similar thing happen and then we got through it. And, oh, you know, it's okay. We've got you. It's fine if you need to take a break, blah, blah, blah. Like all of these things that are capable of really of silencing some of the demons, that we all have in our head, that overwhelming outpouring that I'm just so grateful to everyone for giving me, was enough to really silence, a lot of the doubts and really sort of coalesce, my vision and my purpose of like, even if I'm not the best in the world, I can still be great to somebody. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, you are great to a lot of people. I know, I feel like Threads is like one of those, just over there kids. And
Yeah, it is.
but I'm over there, okay?
I,
I saw it over there and I was like, oh, this is the one platform where everyone hasn't caught on.
yeah.
Let me respond to her on. But yeah, I will say when I saw that video, I could feel the wave of emotion that you were feeling. And I just thought back to our conversation at the summer bash and being like, there are challenges. There
Yeah.
are um times when you will literally, I mean, when you were doing eventing, you will literally fall on your ass in
Mm-hmm.
the mud, and simply being able to show that level of vulnerability and that level of just emotion. When we look at society as a whole, that's not often afforded to Black women.
True. Very true.
And I just was so appreciative that you shared that with us instead of having, and people can handle their lives however they want. Like, I'm
Yeah.
no judgment on that, but the alternative is going radio silent, right?
Right.
And it's like, y'all, no one knows,
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I had considered just disappearing for 2 weeks and being like, nothing happened. I actually didn't compete at all, and everything is great. And I think social media definitely plays into that. People like to post how great things are because that's you like to brag about yourself. But I think that is an interesting aspect that you've brought up of like Black women really aren't allowed, and I think by society, to show their failures, um, or to show weaknesses and vulnerability, because so often that's taken advantage of, or that's, you feel like you can't show your failures because everybody's already assumed you're going to fail anyway.
Mm.
So you have this urge to, I have to be the best every time, and there's the famous quote from Scandal, right, is that you have to be twice as good to
Yeah.
get half as far.
Mhm.
And I hear that in my head all the time. You have to be twice as good to get half as far, and falling off on your face is not being twice as good, Sid. And then I realized, well, that's not the case. You cannot be perfect every single time, and especially for any little Black girls out there that watch me that feel like they have to be perfect every time. The only thing, if I could have one thing in the world, is for one little Black girl to realize that she doesn't have to be perfect all the time, right?
Mhm.
And that her the struggles doesn't mean that she's weak. The struggles doesn't mean that she's bad. It just means that she's human.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, I'm getting closer to that.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any role models in this industry or people that you really looked up to kind of guide your path?
I mean, growing up, not really, no, because it was there wasn't a Black woman, there wasn't a Black man, there wasn't a Black person to be found. um you'd be lucky if you got a dark bay horse. But
Right.
but I mean, my big role model and a big, big, big reason why I left my last trainer and like really took this leap was Anna Buffini,
Mm.
um, the Grand Prix dressage rider,
Mhm.
has sort of been my role model, and sort of the way that she conducts herself around her horses, the way she conducts herself around judges, around fans, around competition has really been like the blueprint to me of like, this is what this sport needs, right? She's so kind, she's so empathetic. And I know it sounds like, I mean, she's also a friend,
Mhm.
but to me, like looking at her, and she's been open about struggles too. She's taking a break from competing because stuff at the top of dressage right now is just like unmanageable, right?
Mhm.
And so she's really been the one, um, that I've looked at and sort of reached out to, when I need expert guidance and stuff. And she's really sort of taken me under her wing, and I've been extremely fortunate, um, to have that. So I would say, if you're looking for, I mean, I'm fun to watch, but if you're looking for like true perfection to watch, go watch her.
Yes, there's space for literally anyone.
And I think too, like, and I'll be honest, initially, like when I first heard about her and saw her, there is that like that pang of like worry and jealousy, because how society works, where there can like, especially with Black women, there can only be one. We can only be cool with one Black woman at a time.
Mhm.
We don't have, society genuinely doesn't have space in their hearts a lot of the time for two,
Mhm.
God forbid three.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times they want to pit Black women against each other to see who's the best. You see it, I think, most notably in rap music all the time, of like, no, we can't have three good Black female rappers, they have to be fighting. Like, no, actually they don't. you
Mhm.
know and so I tried to make a really conscious effort to be like, I'm not going to be like that. you know I'm going to, look at this woman who is working her butt off, and see what I can learn from her and try to be a friend. And that has been so much more rewarding than if we were, I guess, fighting in the streets or whatever people would like us probably to be doing. And I hope it's been shown people that, the friendship between Black women and camaraderie is so much more important and so
Yeah.
much more powerful than petty disagreements.
Yeah. Yeah. You're exactly right. There's not enough of us to be in competition with each other. Okay.
No.
We like just being a part of community. That's something that's been sitting on my heart lately, because I have been thinking about, community is not something that you simply just get to take from.
Right.
Like there's some inconvenience. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
there you have to give to be in and remain a part of, or get access to the different communities in our lives. And I feel that with horses all the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is something that I can give so that people feel welcome, and they feel like they are seen and heard
Mm-hmm.
and valued, whether they are having huge successes or they are going through their struggles. Community and that support is
Right.
necessary to help us get through that.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, where are we going to see Sydney in like 5 years? Like, what is the vision for you? I know the way that the world is working right now, I'm not even really trying to have like 3 and 5 year plans, but
No, I mean, I'm just sort of taking it week by week, and if we make it, we make it. But I mean, the long-term plan has always been like to be an advanced rider, to be a five-star rider, to be a pro, to have a barn, and have a lesson program where I try to figure out some sort of way, and I have, ideas percolating, but like to get, low income kids in, to get inner city kids that wouldn't have access to farms or horses, even if they don't necessarily want to ride, just like being around a farm and being outside and doing things out in a field, is good, and connecting with nature is good, and connecting with an animal is good,
Mhm.
you know. So that, I mean, the goal right now, we're focusing on, I'm starting to teach a little bit,
Okay.
low level, because I'm not very high myself. But just keep pressing on, and with Superman and with my mare up and coming, like trying to just get out there and be a face in the sport. And maybe all the ideas I have of like how can we make the sport more accessible, I'm like, well, let's experiment on me. Like, let's see if it works when I do this or if I do that, and do people like this, do people like that, right? Like, and that's kind of in the hopes that like, oh, if I have some success, maybe people will follow me, and
Mhm.
and we can kind of pull the sport out of obscurity and make it more fun for everybody. I don't know. So that's the plan. That's the 5-year plan.
I love it. I love it. And, you know, I think that you are headed that way with such just I don't know if the words candor or, not taking yourself too seriously.
No.
I feel like just because I was studying vet med, I was like way too serious about my life for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just like you said, we are in the whimsy,
Oh
okay?
yeah.
We are here to just love what we do and have a good time doing it and make sure the horses survive the next.
Right. Yeah. It just, yeah, to make sure we all survive.
Yeah.
Especially as things get bleak out in the world, you gotta find the joy where you can, and you gotta find the whimsy and the fun where you can, because at the end of the day, they can't take that from you if you make a concerted effort every day.
Yeah, yeah, that is so true. Is there anything that you want the Black in the Saddle family to know? It either be about you or, a piece of advice or something that people don't normally think about, anything that's just kind of lingering.
Mm. I mean, like the big thing for, I guess, for advice would be like, don't ignore that little voice in your head. You're not as wrong as you think you are, and you're not. A lot of people are going to make you feel like you're dumb and you don't know anything, but you're not. You have enough experience and you have enough intuition that you are worth listening to.
Mm,
You are worth being taken seriously,
mm,
and you are worth the time and effort that this sport demands.
yeah.
um, and don't let anybody tell you that you're not worth it, because there's a lot of people not working as hard as you that people have deemed worth it. And as long as you show up every day. And I think the big thing too is when things get tough or when things get scary or when things get bad, as long as you're showing up every day and you're kind to your horse, as long as every day your horse goes, my mom's the best or my dad's the best, my rider's the best,
Mhm.
that's all that really matters.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Well, let everyone know where they can find you, follow you, keep up with this journey of yours.
Yeah, I'm at Bookipsies, Bookipsies on TikTok. Same thing with an underscore at the end on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as Sydney Steverson. Yeah, you could follow me on all of those. They're all linked together. So, they all post at the same time. I think I have a YouTube somewhere at Bookipsies. I never post on there, but you can check it out. Um, but yeah, that's where, we've been taking a week-long break, but we're about to get back into it. So yeah.
I love it. Well, please enjoy your break. Please
Thanks.
take care of yourself. And, if you ever need anything, just
Oh, cool. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Black in the Saddle. Subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcasting player and over on YouTube. You can also join us on Patreon. We started that new this year, and that is where the behind the scenes lives, okay? Behind the scenes of episodes, of events that we're planning this year, and much, much more. So I cannot wait to see you over there.